Hi everyone, my name is Charlie Puente, and I want to tell you about a story of a father and son. The father, Chris Buckner, was living his life as normal until he found himself racing down the highway to a hotel. Why was he going to this hotel, you may ask? Well, recently, his wife and some of his son's friends had recently informed him that he had been saying some strange things online, and some of his friends were worried that he was going to take his own life. Chris was racing his way down the highway, trying to get to the hotel before it was too late. However, he did not get there in time. His son, who was a star quarterback, who had 14 offers to play Division III football and had a 4.7 GPA, was gone. His father was met with just the flashing lights of ambulances and police cars as he realized his son was gone for good. Suicide accounts for over 700,000 global deaths. 80% of those take place in low to middle income countries. According to the Middle East Psychiatric, which was published in January 28, 2023. Adolescent suicide increases over time. Each year, more and more teens take their own lives as society continues on. Today, I'm here to talk to you and inform you about teen suicide. First, I want to talk to you about the problems of the high amounts of teen suicide. Second, I want to talk to you about why these teens commit suicide at such alarming rates. And third, I want to talk to you about the solutions to help teen suicide. Social media over time has accounted for high amounts of teen suicide. According to the North Shore News, which was published in October 23rd, 2005, close to 21 students out of 30 in a class take their own lives. This is an alarming rate, as that's almost 70% of each student has considered to take their own lives, even in a class of 30. 21 kids out of 30. That's a lot. According to the CDC, which was published in May 16, 2015, students who were LGBT+, were accounted for 30% of attempted suicides, and they had believed to have attempted to take their own lives at least once in the past year. With such high rates of suicide in these kids, what's the reasoning behind this? Why do they feel this way? According to the Creator Syndicate, which was published in January 31st, 2018, there was a study done by USC students, and this study was about 6,000 students, give or take, and it was between those who had committed suicide or attempted to commit suicide and those who had never even contemplated it. Well, the results found out that those who had divorced parents, who were in foster homes, had a higher percentage of attempting suicide than those who had a stable family life. With a lack of parent support and were bullied, this also attributed to the high percents of attempted suicide. According to the Belfast newsletter, which was published on October 23rd, 2012, 80% of young people associated suicide with mental illness, with drugs, and a lot of different other factors. The main two being, though, is the mental illness problems and the drugs. These people have mental illnesses, and they would take these drugs to try to help and solve these problems that they had. However, it would only lead them closer to ending their own lives. According to the Star Tribune, which was published in 2018, June 20th, 2018, these bullied kids were less likely to consider killing themselves if they had a connected relationship with their parents. If they meant something to someone at a school, at a church event, someone who they would say that they looked up to, a role model in their lives, these kids would consider killing themselves at a lot lower percentages than those who didn't feel like they had anyone to look up to or anyone who really cared about them. According to Ensure Safety, which was published in the Philippine Tribune, which was October 21st, 2017, the best way to help these kids not consider suicide is to support them. They did a study about how to help out kids and families, this family specifically, if these kids had just recently considered killing themselves. The best way to do it was to not hawk over these kids and monitor them and watch them and never leave them alone, because they were in a time of struggle and need. And if you're a parent who you're just like, oh, I gotta see what they're doing, like this can't happen again, you feel like you're a failure as a parent, as your kid has considered to take their own lives. The best way is to kind of just give them space. Not in space where you're like, you know what, I don't really care about these kids. It's, you gotta just watch over them from afar. If you see dramatic changes in their demeanor and their actions, then you can try to pry, but the worst thing to do is pry and get these kids upset at you, because that will divide a wedge between you and your kid, and that's a huge problem. First, I talked about suicide. Second, I talked to you about why these kids would ever consider suicide. And third, I've talked to you about the solutions with this. The best way to do this, which I would believe, is by monitoring your kid. Obviously, you can't take their phone, you can't be watching what they're doing, because that would just make it even worse between you and your kid. But if you really sit down and you feel like, just connect with your kid, make them feel like you have a safe place, or if you need help, contact a professional about it. Because with this, it can help prevent another situation where Dylan Buckney decided to end his own life, and leaving both of his parents wondering why their star quarterback, their kid who had so much potential in their life, decided it was his time to go. Thank you.